Greetings, fellow Gothamites. Tiki here.
And Bluedragonfive. Over 10 years ago, as The Dark Knight changed things forever, we lost the actor who made it happen. Heath Ledger delivered the ultimate performance that left us eternally wanting more. While we all thought we saw the last of his betrayal as the Clown Prince of Crime, two men unearthed amazing footage of what he might have done next.
The job falls to us to comb over the files and documented exploits of Patient 4479 in this ultimate tribute to the role of a lifetime. Let's start today's session with board games. All right, so Dragon, I got to admit, this was a solid episode for sure. There's definitely some memorable moments, definitely a really great Joker speech at the beginning that I appreciated. And Dragon, I'm gonna geek out about Matches Malone when we get to him. I love the Nolanized Matches Malone. I just love it. He's in it for a brief amount of time, Dragon, but he just sang for me. I got to admit, this is maybe a little bit of a step down from the first one, just because. Dragon, I guess my one big nitpick with this one, my one big hang up is that there's a couple moments that I feel don't really fit into the Nolan box. Most specifically, like, I get that there's not really an economic way to do this any other way, but we have a big old exposition dump right in the middle of this thing. And I don't know, like, the exposition dump kind of needed to happen. It gave us a lot of insight on the characters. And I will say that having watched this episode a couple more times, I think with the exposition you do get, it kind of makes things a little bit more clear in the boardroom scenes leading up to it. But I guess pacing wise, it's still my big hang up. Like, this thing is about the length of a TV episode, and even still, I don't feel like nearly as much happened as what went down in the previous episode. But that being said, there's still a lot of good stuff here. So, I'm not saying it was bad by any means. Just structurally, maybe a little less sound than the last couple installments we've had. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a little context here. This essentially, it's the plot episode. This one pays off a lot of the further evidence set up specifically with the episodes Phantom Pains and The Doctor is in. It's kind of the continuation of that. Again, basically, in theory, again, with the prelude nature of that, you could be dropped into the middle of the story and then kind of pick up on what's happening. But for the full experience, again, further evidence kind of sets things up that this one very much satisfyingly pays off. Or at least, it's in the beginning, so. Of doing so with that storyline, kind of continuing where it left off. Yeah, this one plays with the cinematic structure for sure, and you're right. There was an expo dump, but again, kind of a necessary one. And oddly, you look at the Joker blogs historically, episode 2 and all of these is kind of like the plot episode, in which we're kind of like laying things out, which, 2 is like, Arkham bound going way back. That's basically, we're having Dr. Quinzel's kind of walk us through the status quo post The Dark Knight. And then you have, further evidence, which is Dr. Arkham mentioning the state of his wife. And now this, this is kind of like the state of the mob.
Sure. Makes sense.
It's kind of a pattern after you have like the whammo blammo, kind of like we lure everyone in, and then we kind of like, we set the board game, if you will. And then the game begins.
If you think about it, that's kind of how the Nolan Batman movies are kind of structured anyways. At least Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Sure. So yeah, this episode mainly fleshes out the Gotham mob post The Dark Knight, which was kind of teased up in staff verification during the little news ticker. Basically set up like, okay, we kind of checked in with it. We set up Carl Beaumont was killed, and we kind of listed off a bunch of mobsters, and here we see the mobsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I think that's really all you need to know. Everything else to be kind of gotten to within the episode. There's a lot of stuff I could tell you, but I won't. And there we go.
All right. So, Dragon, someone at Arkham's been having a really bad day.
Yeah. One could say one bad day. I mean, it is technically the surname of our season here, but yes. So we have a guard fleeing for his life, and he hides in a locker. In retrospect, he probably could have picked a locker without a smile on it.
Right, right.
No, no, no. It's cute. Anyway, so 4479 enters, and this is getting kind of like almost like Scott Snyder, Joker writing here, where Joker's the boogeyman. We have this really Joker's delightfully written, and I think the method of season 2 is we spent the whole season with the Joker, so now again per further evidence, we've kind of explored the ensemble, and like classic Batman stories, or even the Dark Knight, for example, Joker's presence is felt in the scenes that he's not even in. So little moments with the Joker go a long way, and this is one of those examples of that. A little like one Joker scene per episode for a while.
No, I mean this absolutely this one Joker scene does go a long way. I mean, like I said, it kind of reminds me of the way that the Dark Knight was actually structured, where it's like, like he's not exactly the main focal point of the movie as far as screen time goes, but he is the thing that all the events are kind of revolving around.
I mean, he's the guy flicking the dominoes.
Right, right.
He's not the dominoes, but he's the guy. He's the hand flicking it. So yes, we have this great moment where you have the guard waiting. It's shot very suspensefully. He's like the guard's inside. You're seeing the lighting on his face, and you hear like Joker going through the lockers and everything. He's instantly walks over and says, "Oh, I know which one you're in. I'm just looking for supplies." Which this poor stupid guard. So good. Anyway, so now this is a deep cut callback to the Joker vlogs. This calls back to episode 6, An Apple a Day, where Joker's looking for a shoe pop. We mentioned how when Joker got to Arkham, they scrubbed them clean. Then he kind of, before they gave him all the makeup products he could ask for, before he got on super lockdown for season 2, for a brief time, he had to do makeshift makeup. Like he used, essentially used baby powder for the white. He used like the blood of a guard's finger for the red, and he used black shoe polish for the eyes. So here we see black shoe polish. He's going to a guard's locker. Use the black shoe polish for the eyes. So progressively, we are building the Joker makeup back up.
I'm really really liking that. And as we already kind of said, Joker without his makeup is almost like it's uncanny on top of uncanny. It's very unsettling.
So it is going a long way that this season is like we spent the whole season with the Joker. We know what he looks like and everything. So this is us kind of earning our way back, and he's just even more terrifying piece by piece as we're assembling him. So God knows what he's going to do when he's fully assembled.
You know what it almost kind of vaguely reminds me of, and I know that there's really no resemblance as far as like one thing taking inspiration from each other, but it kind of reminds me of how the black phone was handled with Ethan Hawke's mask. I've kind of raved on about how he has like this mask that can be assembled into all these different kind of combinations. And so I like that we're kind of playing around with different forms of varying degrees of makeup being applied.
Sure. And also, he's picking up a walk. These are things that are going to be useful later in the season. He picks up a walkie-talkie, a gun, and of course, I love the glee at which he takes the last item, which of course, signature of the show, takes a camera.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have basically kind of a great little Joker monologue here, which I think kind of the key points of it here being, I've not been myself lately. Which again, he's been without makeup and everything this season. It's kind of what he's calling himself out on here. Is, I haven't been myself. And it's hard to know who you are when you're locked away in a mental asylum. So he, some people go their whole lives without, basically without something kind of moving them essentially, and basically they kind of knowing what moves them, puts a smile on their face. Which again, the idea here is kind of building his smile on his face with the assemblage of the makeup, which is kind of what he's going for here. And then he lays out, and this is going to be kind of a runner through the Joker appearances. He kind of lays out this 3-step program in how to find out who you are. So it basically says, let's see. So I love during this whole conversation, he is talking to the guy in the locker and directing his questions to him. Like, do you know anything about quantum? Do you know anything about quantum physics? Oh no, because you're a security guard, of course. So let's see. So then I'll put in layman's terms. That means for stupid people. he basically equates the guard's position into being into Schrodinger's cat. The whole you're both alive, and the cat is in a box and he's both alive and dead at the same time. Because you open the box, poison may or may not kill the cat. Otherwise, you get the idea. So
Yeah, and
essentially,
he
the
points
joke.
out that Schrodinger probably not an animal lover.
Yep, probably not an animal lover. And again, the idea you have to. This is against the first principle that the Joker's kind of going through here of the three, which is uncertainty, which is what the Joker flourishes in, and you just can't predict things. And more so, what he's doing here is I read on the rewatch has always been this is a parable for what's happening with Dr. Arkham right now. I think he's not so much talking about the guard, but he's talking about Dr. Arkham because as we established with the Tommy Elliott story here, no matter what's going to happen here with Dr. Arkham's wife, chances are it's not going to go well, and he's going to be right back where he started. And he's kind of in a
Hmm.
delusional state of, again, basically, Lisa Arkham is the cat. She's both alive and dead at the same time right now. So I think that was always the message I got from the episode, that Joker knows why Dr. Arkham's doing all this, and he's kind of laughing at the joke that it's not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything.
Yeah, there's definitely. I love the dual villain component that we have going on with Jeremiah Arkham and the Joker, and weirdly enough, the Joker on some level seems to be the more rational of the two right now.
Which is crazy, right? And that's the thing. You kind of have a three-way war going on between Doctor Arkham, the Joker, and Lex Luthor for Arkham Asylum.
Uh-huh.
So that's the really fascinating component of this
But then
comic.
you also have this like 12 angry men style
Mhm.
boardroom of mobsters at play too.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. But real quick, I love Joker here. He kind of there's a meta kind of Nolan Joker kind of thing in this monologue where he says, "People always ask me, how do I know everything?" And of course, it's not just a Nolan thing. It's also a callback to Hugo Strange. Like, how do you know these things? So
Right,
this is
right.
basically him saying, it's hard. It's the Nolan criticism. How the heck can Joker do all this stuff? He's just one guy. So the answer here given is hard
He's
work.
ex-military.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So,
That's gonna be the theory that I'm taking to my grave, Dragon.
so the point being, the Joker says, hard work, probability, and a little luck.
Oh.
Which again kind of makes sense. It's kind of him distilling it down versus the I'm Batman reasons. Joker's like, well, it's mostly luck. It's luck, probability, and hard work. Yeah. So let's see. So basically, he's going through this again, the Schrodinger's cat comparison, and basically the first principle, big takeaway is uncertainty. He says, I I got to finish. I've got to finish this later. Basically, he has to finish the next of the steps later for like other installments. With now that he has the camera, and then he shoots the says, you know what? I'm more of a dog person anyway. And he basically shoots. His answer to the Schrodinger's cat is, I don't really care. I'm more of a dog person anyway. He basically shoots the guy 7 times in the locker.
I also really like how when we do get the shot of him, firing the gun, it's a little bit more cinematic. Like it kind of like it's. I don't know if this is intentional, Dragon. I'm pretty sure it is, where it almost transitions from the more confined. I'm not saying they're doing it found footage style, but the cinematography is a little bit more shaky cam. And then when we get the steady shot of him firing the gun, and then that transitions into the Arkham portrait, it's kind of like transitioning into the more theatrical side of the episode. Did you get that?
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, Tiki, because if you do look at this episode, there are a lot of really good transitions between our storylines here, which is getting kind of a new status quo shift for season 2. Where again, with the found footage, we were never really allotted that. Where here we are.
Uh,
And yeah, I mean, we do kind of we do a little bit of found footage, and then we transition out of that and into the other scene. So you're right, we are definitely playing with the kind of the cinematic kind of things here. And again, we are breaching a little out of the Nolan cinematography with the exposition scene, which we'll get to. So yeah, we
I
are
would say that this episode is a lot more out of the Nolan style in some ways than the first one.
sure. So then we enter again with our we're kind of jumping around in time a little bit here slightly, where we the board meeting takes place an hour before Arkham takes over the asylum. So we're seeing events happen right before the Joker
Weirdly
is like
enough, time jumping is a Nolan staple, but not really a Nolan Batman staple.
yeah. So that's the thing. So of course Joker out of the cells after the whole lockdown thing happens, and this is like an hour before, and you kind of track as the board meeting goes on when we do the link up. So that's really cool. All right, so we have the. What did you think of the portrait of Amadeus Arkham, the great
Well,
grandfather?
you know what's really cool about it, Dragon, is that I definitely got the fake out of like at first when it cuts to him, I thought it was a real actor at first. Like
Yeah,
it's really well, it's a really well done transition piece.
yeah. If you look, it's like it's Steve Maloney, but they kind of grade him up and put a beard on him and everything. So yeah, it's him. So we have Roland Daggett. No, and yes, folks, that is Roland Daggett. We'll get into the whole Daggett thing momentarily.
Okay, can I just say Roland Daggett in this episode? I really he's just giving me some Kingpin energy, and I'm all over it.
Really, he? No, I think you're thinking of Rupert Thorne.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Rupert Thorne. My bad.
Yeah, Roland. Okay, point being, we have. You're right. We have Rupert Thorne looking at the painting, which of
Yeah,
course.
Rupert Thorne's the one, but that's why I got confused, right? And I'm sorry, Rupert Thorne's the one looking at the painting. Yeah.
And then we have Roland Daggett off to the side, very snide like his brother, who was in The Dark Knight Rises. Who said, "Oh, I don't. Can we vote to get Doctor Arkham out of here? That's not Jeremiah Arkham. That's Amadeus Arkham."
Essentially, it's like, ah, man, the family name's been canceled. Come on.
Essentially, yeah. So the actors, our mob actors, I find to be an excellent assortment, honestly, and also it helps that with the exception of Roman Science, who's supposed to be a young buck anyway. They all do seem like non-college students, which does help.
No, that definitely helps. Yeah. And even the young buck definitely, he kind of fits into the mold of being like the up and coming entrepreneur type.
Yeah, which again, that's Roman Sionis. The idea Roman Sionis was the up and comer mobster in Gotham, so it plays.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but you're right though, Tika. I think Rupert, the actor playing Rupert Thorne, does definitely elicit a lot of Kingpin vibes, and it's great because again, there's definitely of all the Rupert Thorns, they're very much looking to, as they have with many things in the Joker vlogs, Batman the Animated Series, and he does have like a John Vernon kind of class about him, and John Vernon very much did have kind of a Kingpin swagger to him in that show. So they're on the money with that. That's good. So yeah, so we have here. So we have our mob assortment here. Essentially, the idea is, Arkham historically, they got their. It was always the cleverest thing in the Nolan movies to me. I always loved this idea that before the freaks rolled in, kind of our long Halloween era in Gotham, you had mobsters using Arkham as get out of jail free cards for their guys. They would say they're crazy, they get rehabilitated for like 6 months versus many years, and they're back on the streets.
Oh.
So it was always a great idea. So the idea is that the mob, because of that, has vestige. They have invested in the asylum, and they have, that's why they have it in their pockets and everything. So again, that's why they're there at this board meeting. So you have Rupert Thorne, you have Roland Daggett, you have Matches Malone, and Roman Sionis, and also Dr. Cavendish, who they recast because originally he was off screen in Andrew DeVere, but now that we have an actor on screen, it's a different guy. Okay, so essentially they're waiting on a few residual members to show up because Lex Luthor, he's on his way up in the elevator, and Dr. Kofsky, Harleen is supposed to be there as well, and they're going to kind of do an ETA on them, and of course Roland Daggett is whining about Lex because he's jealous of him running for president. I love how Rupert Thorne's like the most distinguished member of the bunch, and he's saying,
No, that's what I'm saying. Rupert Thorne just like he does have Kingpin energy, right?
He does for sure. And honestly, it's the fact that Rupert Thorne does show respect and kind of class. Where
Sure.
Roland Daggett does that. Roland Daggett's just like he's spoiled money, and he and Roman Sionis are very they're spoiled.
You know what's funny about Roman Sionis is the way that he's characterized, especially in the exposition dump.
Yeah.
It really sounds like Roman from Succession.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he acts like a spoiled brat, but actually he's a genius strategist.
If Roman were more intimidating, he could be Roman Sionis.
Right.
All right, so then essentially,
that's Roman, really get it all out. Got an uphill battle after season 3, Dragon. That's for sure.
Oh, he will. So we have Rupert here saying a lot of R's, by the way. If you think of the way 3 characters.
Yeah, no, that's.
Anyway, so Rupert here, he's basically saying, "Yeah, that's right. Get it all out while the Golden Boy's not here to defend themselves." Yeah. So let's see. So of course, Roman is factoring. Well, look, if that guy, if they're going to trust that guy, why not? If they're going to trust that guy, what's to stop me from becoming mayor? Mayor of Gotham, for example. Just because you're a child with a gambling addiction and also the Dent Act. So I think the idea is the Dent Act is kind of like, it's like the disqualifier for the person if you've ever served time. So essentially, it's like,
Mhm.
basically no mobster has a chance of ever getting into politics again. So because of that, the Lex is really lucky because the dent that does not extend to Metropolis. Otherwise, they'd have his number. So then they're asking, so Dr. Cavendish asks, what about Beaumont? And of course, they all stop dead in their tracks. They all stop and they all look at him, all suspiciously. There's a lot of tension in the room over Mr. Beaumont.
We don't talk about Beaumont.
Dun, dun, dun. So yes, the room falls silent. He says, well, he got a package. He got like a little envelope with his name on it.
It's
A lot of
almost, Dragon, it's almost as if mentioning Beaumont's name was like a splash of cold water to the face or something.
one could say, hold on a second, but you're right. One
I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping ahead just a little bit,
You're
but I
right.
saw the transition. I wanted to go for it.
Yeah, so there's like a really good 40s noir kind of sense there. All these, again, it feels like 12 Angry Men meets a film noir. It's like Maltese
It
Falcon
totally
meets,
feels like, yeah, it definitely feels like 12 Angry Men meets the Maltese Falcon or something.
yeah, because once Beaumont's name is mentioned, it's kind of 40s noir of like, yeah, he's a dead man. Like, we don't talk
Uh-huh,
about that guy.
uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So Beaumont International, is there going to be a representative from Beaumont International? So we can throw that into the air. And then we mentioned Dr. Tompkins. She's sending someone to represent her. So essentially, the implication is that's who they're waiting for. And then we cut to them with a splash of cold water to the face. Dr. Thomas Elliot.
All right. So, Jeremiah Arkham, Dragon, he is absolutely just stealing the show here. I think that's pretty obvious. I love the kind of backstory that we've been given. I'm saying, like, in real life, how the actor was, they just wanted to give him more and more to do to eventually, essentially what I feel like they're doing here, Dragon, is kind of the same thing that the new Halloween movie tried to do, which is kind of like, this guy is sort of like coming into his own, is just a very unhinged evil person. Is the Joker maybe I mean, I don't know, you know what I mean, but the Joker is almost kind of trying to regain relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely defending his territory, and Arkham's definitely trying to, kind of like, he's trying to reclaim what Joker's. He's basically trying to take over Joker's Batcave, which he doesn't appreciate.
uh
Essentially, was what the idea is there. Yeah.
and of course, I don't know if I forget if this has been mentioned before. I apologize if it has, but I love how there's an element of Victor Freeze to this guy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, with the wife kind of in a
Yeah,
there's a
yeah. I
lot
mean,
of
I basically feel like his whole motivation is, it's kind of like halfway into the one bad day of it all, and then halfway into the Victor Freeze kind of, doing everything to save the woman he loves in spite of it being a fruitless effort.
I mean, think about it, there is a lot of, and again, I'm sure with all the animated series references, in this, I mean, there's definitely some Sub-Zero at play. Of course, the plot of Sub-Zero was Nora Freeze need an organ transplant.
And now all he needs is an adorable adopted Eskimo sidekick.
That's right. We need.
Try and Nolanize that.
Yeah.
Oh God, it'd probably be like some homeless street kid or something.
Anyway. Good point being, we have Dr. Crane here. Of course, Torrey Avildsen, after he's shaved off the beard, he looks exactly like Cillian Murphy.
Alarmingly so, yes.
Which is great. And he's checking him out, and he's moving on with glee as the Scarecrow to his next appointment, which is some setup for another episode you're going to really like, Tiki.
Ooh.
You're going to see what he has planned. It's going to be really memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so long story short, Dr. Arkham explains the situation, and I love that Dr. Arkham does have a romantic flair to what he's doing because he's doing all this for his wife. So he puts on the music like he had in the hospital room, and I think the idea is that his wife really likes music, so he plays it whenever she's in the room. I think that's the idea. So he puts on the Victrola, and he's putting on the record player, and he's going over there, and anyway, so he's like caressing the bandages on his wife while she's kind of like on the ventilator and everything. So he's basically explaining to Thomas Elliot here, and we have such powerful silences before they even speak to, where they're kind of conveying the intensity of the situation. Do you know who I am? Yeah, I know. It's interesting because you never bothered to meet with me. Because the idea is, as we saw, Elliot just looked at the file and he knew there was nothing he could do, so he didn't really bother meeting with Dr. Arkham, which is kind of cold, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
probably kind of relayed the information down versus actually meeting with the top surgeon, like like I think sure any loved one would want to do. So anyway, so Doctor Elliot here, he refuses to do the surgery here. And he's threatened death by starvation, which is brutal.
God.
I love how Dr. Arkham points out even one of the most horrible ways to die is starvation. So,
I mean, he's not wrong. It's slow, it's drawn out, it's very painful.
And again, it's kind of a metaphor for what he's going through and the hopes for his wife right now. It's kind of the starvation of hope. So anyway, so then we list out exactly what happened to her in the explosion, which is brutal. And again, it's all medical stuff. It makes me feel icky, but still. So we have this explosion that happened.
I love how, as Elliot is listing it out, you can just see Jeremiah Arkham he is so unhappy with getting this, this information just delivered in such a brutal, kind of matter-of-fact way.
So again, my headcanon has always been that the Joker, I think just unintentionally for the fun of it all, just not caring. He made a bomb. He kind of half-baked the bomb, in which he made a bomb, but he also put fireworks on. And in doing so, he kind of created almost like a living death versus an instant death. And because of that, what we have is Lisa Arkham survived, but in the worst possible way imaginable. She's in a coma. She has third-degree burns on 80% of her body. She has she's suffering from congestive heart failure and has shrapnel impeding on multiple vital organs. So that's not good. Yeah, and so the point is, she's right now, the machines are keeping her alive. She has no real brain activity going on. So she is, as Thomas Elliot very coldly puts it, she's dead.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love the performance here on both sides because Thomas Elliot is just putting it in a very blunt, kind of matter-of-fact way. And then, like I said, Jeremiah Arkham just in the face. He doesn't have to say a word. He's just like, no, don't you say that. Like, that is not what I want to hear.
And even if he were to attempt this, he need doctors and the best nurses from Gotham Memorial. And of course, he gestures over and he sees Barbara Gordon Sr. On the ground there. Of course, well, there's your nurse. And then he points out again, kind of the Sub-Zero kind of issue here. Like, well, there's no donor list will be able to get us all those organs in time and everything. So, like I told you, I'm sure my hospital staff told you this, but we're not in your hospital. You're in mine. Bum, bum, bum. So then we have some Tiki foreshadow. There's an 80% chance of foreshadow here, man.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. You're playing with a loaded gun, Arkham. It's going to go off. Essentially, it's a little gun.
So Chekhov's dialogue gun, essentially.
You are correct, sir.
All right, fair enough.
Just plant the flag. I'm not going to say when, but just plant the flag.
Duly noted.
So, of course, when he says this, too, when he mentions the gun, we cut to Andrea Beaumont with the gun.
Yep.
So Andrea Beaumont, really nice, like, see her kind of psyching herself up because she's planning on killing one of these suckers in this room. So she's cocking the gun, putting it in her purse, and she's walking down the hallway really nicely shot with the heels and everything. And, she's calming herself. She enters there, and then Roman is thinking, hey, coffee, sweetheart. It's just like, get it yourself and get in my father's chair. But yeah, Tiki, you're seeing Andrea Beaumont for the first time, huh?
Oh, Dragon, I'm sorry. I accidentally muted you for a second. Not you on the. I accidentally muted my. I pressed the mute button on my keyboard accidentally, is what I am trying to say, and I didn't realize it. I'm sorry. I was like, oh my God, why'd he go silent all of a sudden? So yes, I'm seeing Andrea Beaumont for the first time. It's definitely interesting, and we're gonna have an intriguing twist for sure at the end of the episode involving her.
Oh yeah.
So
plotting revenge, but not in the way I think we all expected.
Right. It's very much Nolan. It's very much a Nolanized kind of like, we're not going where you think we're going.
It is a twist, given anyone who has seen that movie knows what that twist is. So
of course. All right, so yeah, I appreciate it. I really like, again, Drake, this is where Rupert Thorne for me really shines.
Oh, yeah.
the whole, how diplomatic he's being about the whole thing, even though he's probably the one who's the most in the wrong about the
Oh,
situation.
absolutely. We make it no bones about it. Rupert Thorne is the monster in the room here, ultimately.
Right. But he just has such a great kind of comforting demeanor that he's manipulating me, Dragon.
I
Me.
know. God. All right. So Rupert Thorne, he likes Andrea because he was very close with her father, Carl Beaumont.
Mhm.
And we have this thing where, how about a tour of the grounds? I want to see how you're wasting my father's money. So let's see. So Daggett here. Daggett gets really incensed and insecure here. Again, you get the sense the actor here. Now I don't know how much of I don't know how much of The Dark Knight Rises was probably in the. They knew what actors were cast, but I don't know if they really saw the performance yet. Because again, they were able to read the script, so they knew about John Daggett. So this is not a mistake. John Daggett does get referenced in here.
Yeah, to be fair, I really do think this actor captures that role from Rises pretty well.
That's what I'm saying. He has like the unlikability of Ben Mendelsohn's character from that movie, so we kind of have that.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, and this is going to sound like a weird comparison, and I might be the only one thinking this. It kind of reminds me of there's definitely some Jason Bateman in there for sure, but also I get kind of like a smarmy, unlikable Michael J.
I have a different combination in mind, but that's good. I mean, it just for me, I have
it's like if Marty McFly just lost all his cool.
Yeah, like what if every time you had Michael J. Fox playing a yuppie character, what if it just turned really, really evil?
Exactly.
See, for me, I have kind of like a Corey Feldman crossed with the actor who played Betty's father from Riverdale. Trust me, I can't. I don't know that guy's name.
I haven't seen enough of Riverdale to know.
I know that's the thing. I know that I've seen that guy in other things, and I'm blank. I don't know the actor's name, but if you ever look at that guy and you see him, you'll say, "Oh my God, he's a dead ringer for him."
Gotcha.
Point being, so the one we have, obviously he's no Ed Asner, clearly, in terms of Roland Daggett, but still, in terms of
who can be Ed Asner though? Let's be clear.
Exactly. My point though is you're right though. He is you could buy him as Ben Mendelsohn's brother, right, from The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Rises, yeah. So the point being here, he's very unlikable, and he's also very prickly at board meetings, just like his brother too. Because that guy was always like, "Why is Wayne here?" He's like, "I thought only board members were allowed in here," and that's why he's like voicing the objections. I want Jeremiah Arkham gone. Okay. All right, so I don't care who your father was, and then we have like Rupert Thorne here coming in with like, I do. I do care who.
Such a goddamn Kingpin-esque move, man.
Oh yes, and then he goes into this really nice thing. This is way before we even had a Kingpin. This guy's doing this, by the way.
Right. It's trippy.
Yeah, so he's laying out this really nice kind of sentiment here, and I love this line specifically here, which is, we thrived as a family. We thrived during Gotham's Silver Age. Working in Silver Age like that in a natural way is kind of nice. During Gotham's Silver Age, back when family meant something, and before, and of course, knowing what he did in the episode, this makes it all more twisted. What he's saying here: strive during the Silver Age when family meant something, and before the streets were ruled by bats and clowns.
He's got a couple really good Batman lines. That's one of them.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So
and another one comes right at the end that I'm very keen on, which we'll get to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So to tee that up a little bit here, so they get started in the meeting. And Andrea is given the envelope with her name on it, and so plot-wise, the first order of business is we have. I'm sorry, real quick, but we have like Rupert Thorne saying you have the same trouble streak your father had,
Mm-hmm.
Which again is like, I'm glad you're here. Which is, oh man, why'd it have to be evil, Rupert? You're so darn nice. But then the first order of business is kind of really cool, kind of status quo.
It's like being the teacher's pet of the problematic teacher.
That is true, yes.
I've been in that position.
So the first order of business here is protecting Carmine Falcone, who is still in Arkham Asylum. Remember, he's still doing Scarecrow.
Right. Yeah.
Now here's why. This is fascinating. Think about this, dude. Yeah, this lays out here.
That was John Turturro, wasn't it?
No. That's no. You're Tom Wilkinson was
Tom Wilkinson,
you're
right,
thinking of
right. God,
the
John
Batman.
Turturro, Tom Wilkinson, they all come from the same sort of character actor cloth.
Well, no, you're thinking of Carmine Falcone from the Batman. He was Falcone in the Batman, but Tom Wilkinson was the one from the
That
Nolan
makes
Batman
sense.
movies.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have 3 Falcones, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get out the flowchart. Okay, and that one's John Doman, but he is pronounced Falcone and not
Oh God.
Falcone. Anyway, so no, seriously, the first order of business, they're protecting Carmine Falcone because Alberto Falcone was killed by the Phantasm, but they think it was the Batman that killed him.
Mhm.
And they think it's the Batman because Batman went on that killing spree at the end of the Dark Knight, as far as the public's concerned, because he killed Harvey Dent and all those mob affiliates, like like the corrupt cops.
Yeah, so I really like how we're kind of working that in.
Yeah. So that's I like the idea. The mob is much like the beginning of Mask of the Phantasm. They're thinking the Batman, like they're thinking Batman's killing mobsters off. Really clever. Okay, so we have this earpiece set up basically where Dr. Arkham is having this one-sided conversation into Andrea Beaumont's ear, and I like this idea that he sees her as a kindred spirit because in some ways, they've been on the receiving end of the mob's agenda because the mob and powerful guys working in affiliation with the mob, like Lex Luthor or just the generally Gotham mob.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of it. I just, again, Dragon, this is kind of where we get into the whole, like, it's a necessary exposition dump. I just think it's a little difficult for me to suspend my disbelief that he's having this whole conversation with her and she's just kind of like looking around. I don't know.
I don't know. He's talking fast, and they're kind of talking about other things. Not even really paying her much attention in that meeting, anyway. So
I guess so. It's
I think it's a miracle exception for an episode.
Sure,
I think we can give him like it's our we're
look. I don't want to dwell on it, but I'm just saying with how much this series is kind of like like really prided itself on sticking to the Nolan detail of it all.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit out of style.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so let's see. So the idea is like Arkham's going on here, and this is again chronologically during the events right now. We're seeing like Lockup like taking out the last of the guards right before they take over the full asylum. So they're getting close to the link up right now as this conversation's going on. This is right before he took over the place, and he's basically saying, we both lost loved ones to greedy men afraid of losing their power. And of course, he holds Lex responsible for letting 4479 off the leash, much like the Gotham mob did in the Dark Knight. And basically, he thinks, we're just trying to do what's right and honorable, and we're being punished for it. Basically, him trying to save his wife, going through the hospital systems and all the proper channels to no avail and everything. So he's basically saying, let's why don't we take something back? And essentially, he knows that Andrea is going to kill the person responsible for killing her father at this board meeting. So he's trying to get into her ear here, suggesting, why don't you kill them all? Just kill them all while you're there. Empty the whole clip, just not instead of just one. Which again, it's basically his way of if he can't get to the Arkham board, who surely when this lockdown is about to happen,
it's actually a very Joker-esque move if you think about it, because it's like what the Joker does in the Dark Knight is he preys upon what people need and what they're desperate for.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's so trippy that the one bad day philosophy here, he really has driven Arkham to the brink.
Totally.
To do all this. So so then we honestly here's ultimately what I really like about the scenes. It reminds me a lot of the montage in the Arkham Origins game. Where in Arkham Origins, we kind of lay out the 8 assassins that are going after Batman in a sequence kind of similar to this. And it did come out in the same year as this, so I don't know how directly that was influenced in the editing room. I'm not sure.
Perhaps.
So basically, we set up earlier in the episode. The one episode I don't like in the entirety of the Joker blogs with the Lyle spoiling Bullock's Skype date.
Right.
He stole the Beaumont files for the Beaumont murder, and basically within those files, we Arkham has put together a board, like a murder board, essentially listing out all the mobsters and everything. So this is where we kind of do the expo dump here. Where, long story short, here, Roland Daggett is the brother of John Daggett, who their export. It's diamond mines and construction, and off the side, illegal trade, insider trading, smuggling, and of course hostile takeovers. And her father basically was tasked with covering up, doing cooking the books on their illegal illicit activities and shredding all the documents and everything. We cut periodically to her father in black and white, kind of shredding all, like doing stuff for the mob and being all.
Okay, that's another thing that I don't really like, the cut to black and white. That's like, it's fine on its own, but again, it does not feel like a Nolan editing choice to me.
That's fair. I'm trying to remember though. Didn't we have black and white segments in Memento?
Well, yeah, but we didn't. But the black and white, because with Memento, one timeline was in color, the other one was in black and white. So, like, we wouldn't just kind of, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be just like basically what I'm trying to say, Dragon, is like, even outside of black and white, Nolan doesn't really do cutaways all that much.
That's well, you're
just
right.
In general,
I mean, yeah, and again, it's probably it's a liberty. So then we have Miles matches Malone, who now historically, Tiki, fun fact, matches Malone, as you know, is usually an undercover identity for the Batman. Now, remind you about this though, he was a real guy before Batman got his hands on him.
I remember.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So presumably the real matches Malone here. I love the detail that he is holding the match throughout the whole meeting. By
Reckon I cannot say enough good things about this matches Malone, man. I don't know what it is, but like, just this actor barely says anything, but he just has such a vibe about him. I appreciate it so much.
Like we glazed over this gag, but it was really funny. Where earlier on, like Roman saying, "Well, if we're gonna wait here, can we at least get some drinks?" And then who moves for that motion? And matches raises like the two fingers, just like seconded. And the idea that matches here, he's senile, he's almost mute, and he's pushing 80.
He's essentially the Gotham mob equivalent to Hector Salamanca.
Pretty much, yeah.
And but I love how, despite him, being mute and being senile, the man still got so much like style to him.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, again, it's he. Like, we barely knew Matches Malone before he got killed off in the series, Dragon. He just has a couple minutes worth of screen time.
He's very memorable.
He's super memorable, yeah.
You need to drop some bodies, folks. I don't know what to tell you, but I do love that. So we learned that he was like a majority shareholder in Arkham. That's the thing. He's kind of like an old money sort of thing, and he has a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got. Yeah.
So the important detail here is that he essentially bought all of after the Falcone crime family went down. He basically bought up that territory before Carl Beaumont could really get a chance to basically buy up his territory and his shares and everything. So he basically took something away from Carl Beaumont that might have saved him, for all they know. Anyway, so then, let's see. So then we have Roman Sionis here, who essentially he's climbed. He's the spoiled prodigy of organized crime. He basically is. He said, "Let's buy the legit organizations to hide our illicit deeds and everything." And he basically started off as like a messenger, and in doing so, he became kind of he spotted the rats, and that's how he led to the death of Carl Beaumont, because he knew he was going to the cops, and he reported it.
Makes sense, yeah.
Also, you'll notice in these black and white segments, if you look really closely, behind Carl Beaumont is the Phantasm mask.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I like that it really becomes prominent in the scene featuring Black Mask, even though he doesn't have the black mask on yet. However, we did not mention this. He has gave him a nasty scar on his face. I don't know if that was an actual.
You know what's funny is that for the longest time, I remember that Black Mask felt like he was like the lead contender to be the villain in The Dark Knight Rises.
No, you're right, Tiki. He was absolutely. Everyone and their mother thought that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to play either one of two roles.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Seriously, they thought he would have actually been a really good choice for Black.
Dragon, you and I both love us some JGL, but man, was his whole role mishandled in The Dark Knight Rises.
I mean, that's the thing. There were 3 roles everyone thought. There were 3 to 4 roles everyone thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to play. Thought it was going to either be, again, the lead one was Black Mask. Everyone really thought it was going to be Black, because you look at this actor, the Roman Sionis, you could see Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing that guy.
Yeah, sure.
The other one, of course, I think we were all hopeful for Terry McGinnis. Did not happen.
Yeah.
Then second to that was the main one was Dick Grayson, which he kind of is, but
Kind of.
they kind of botched that. And then you have the other one.
Even if Robin was his fucking middle name instead of his first name, it just doesn't make sense that it's his first name and he goes by his middle name. It's stupid.
And the last one was they thought he was going to be a Finn Bullock.
Oh, God. Okay, well, I'm glad they didn't go that route. That would have just been a waste.
Well, to be fair, Earth 1 Bullock was thin, but that was before Earth 1 really was a thing, so...
All right.
Anyway. Well, they still have not introduced Bullock cinematically, which still bothers me.
No, they haven't, have they?
Yeah, I mean, Matt Reeves...
Jeff Bridges, man, get on it. Jeff Bridges is right there.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see.
We have the Ghost Reaper in the comments, or the Ghost Ranger, I'm sorry, saying, I wish they would release the Lost episode. Do you know anything about that, or the last episode?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you.
Ooh, okay.
Not yet. I don't want to tell you
yet. Ghost Ranger, if you're unaware, we're going through this where Dragon's kind of the expert on it, and I have been watching this for the first time. So,
Ghost Ranger, don't tell me any specifics, all right? So,
all right.
So, anyway, so let's see. Then we have, then of course, Rupert Thorne. You think you have a friend in there? He used the Falcones to find. Essentially, he used the Falcones to find your father and to have Daggett construction basically facilitate the explosion that killed your parents. And all of this just being are you Miss Beaumont? This is like, yes, sorry. We're talking about cutting expenses. Do you want to share something? So the point, it's been set up that Rupert Thorne, of all these people in the room, he was the deciding vote whether her father was to live or die. Which is bad.
That's bad.
No, seriously. Oh, Rupee, you did her so dirty, man. It's not cool. So yeah, he was the deciding vote again. He was the closest friend and everything. They all reported to Rupert Thorne. They all fear that guy in the room, and he gave the order like, "Yep, kill him, kill the rat, kill him before he turns us in." Anyway, so then they go to Andrea, and before she can say anything, she's like, "Okay, allow me to be brutal." So assumingly she's going to ream into all these.
Now it's funny, Dragon, because like I was saying, it's like I don't really think that the exposition dump is in the style of Nolan. But they go right back to that Nolan style because it's a great kind of Nolan transition of the whole let me be brutal and then cut the lights. I mean, I don't know, that feels really really Nolan to me. It kind of reminds me of how Nolan handled his Scarecrow build up in some ways.
No, for sure, yeah. All right, let's see. So then the lights go out, and let's go ahead, and then we transition.
Yeah, we're with Barbara Gordon, Tommy Elliott.
Yes, so the idea she's come to and everything, and basically they're weighing their options right now in this very desperate situation. He's like, if you say we're going to be fine one more time, I'm going to scream, man. She's not having a good day. Like she was kidnapped from the hospital.
Seems like she's not having a good year, given the. I love the subtle line that I assume is going to be very important. Of I don't. It might be a couple days before Jim realizes I'm missing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So she's I don't know if I can't tell you fully if that implies that she left him at this point, or if it's just specifically the idea their marriage is on the rocks since what happened after the Dark Knight.
My idea of it is that she knows that he's cheating on her, but she hasn't confronted him about it yet. At least that's how I read it.
I mean, Tiki traditionally, yes, but they never mentioned in Dark Knight Rises specifically why she left. I think everyone just assumed it was because of the trauma that they faced because of the whole Harvey Dent affair. That was always the read I had. So I never factored in the year one Sarah Essen thing. I never did really. But I mean, you're not wrong. We don't know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Nolan really factored in Sarah Essen's either, but I think they're kind of maybe throwing us a bone of Sarah Essen's.
I mean, you're not. I
mean, not everything has to follow the Dark Knight Rises model to a T, especially because, like you said, they had access to the script, but it's not like they had access to the finished film. So I think we can take a few liberties.
The point being, the marriage is on the rocks anyway. You slice it. We know it's not going to end well for the House of Gordon. We know that much. So right now, like their big ace in the hole is like Gordon's gonna know this, and he basically Gordon is the rescue plan right now, but it might not be a few days. And also right now, like she's the bargaining chip in a hostage situation. She's safe. Elliot's safe because he can provide something useful in saving the wife, but clearly, if they operate on her, she's gonna die, and that's the game right there. She's gonna die, or they're gonna kill someone trying to save her. So there's a lot of Hippocratic kind of nightmare loops that are at
Oh
play right
yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Also, I like how they asked, like, "What's the last thing you remember?" I remember I was telling him he couldn't see his wife right now, and they gassed me, and then was gassed by some guy in a potato sack. And he basically she's like chastising him for the Playboy lifestyle, how Selena Kyle got him at the end of last episode. Don't trust the pretty face with champagne. Okay, so let's see. So the assumption is the patients are going to be the organ donors, which again, even more ethical violations. You're going to have to kill some people to save one who's already dying.
Right. Right.
And then again, I like how she's calling out the crazy on Tommy Elliott here, which again, there's some dark brewing underneath that guy who's just trying to
Yeah.
live
No.
his life.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's interesting because he is in a sympathetic situation for sure, but at the same time, as this episode shows, he is more than a little bit willing to throw people under the bus for his own benefit.
Oh, for sure. So he's so you're pretty calm for someone who both options are killing innocent are both willingly murder people.
Mhm.
Essentially, both your options involve murder. That's not great. And says like, can you keep a secret? So he's about to tell her something, and he gets interrupted by Dr. Arkham coming in. Lockup was instructed to grab something, to grab a stray. So door opens. He basically says, "I swore an oath. I'm not going to perform surgery on innocent patients." Then someone not so innocent is presented before me. We're playing some nice kind of 40s music going on here. Very much like bum bum bum. Like there's the there's the wrath for you. So Selena Kyle, who basically drugged him and brought him into this situation, has been double crossed, and she is presented as the organ donor.
Mhm.
And Tommy Elliott, remember his threat to her, says, "I'm going to cut your heart out."
Oh yeah. Oh
With a
yeah.
devilish smile, he says, "Where can I wash up?" And Barbara's face is like, "What?" So yeah, it's pretty dark.
All right.
So then we have our awesome ending. We have 3 minutes left in the episode. What the heck's going to happen now? Okay, so the mobsters are freaking out.
Ryan Johnson's just in the corner, like, "Hey guys, can I do this one? Can I do this one? Can I direct just this one scene, guys?"
Fine, just real quick, in and out, in and out. Just the slate comes down, you say some stuff, and you leave. That's how it works, Johnson. Okay, if anyone asks, it's direct with a British accent, all right?
Let's see. That would have been right around the time that he was getting traction for his Breaking Bad work, right?
I mean, well, yeah, I guess this would have been at the same time. It was either this or was Looper might have. I don't know if Looper is at the same time as this, because Fly was his season 3. He would have at least had some Breaking Bad on his belt, and I guess he would have maybe had the last. Because the last one was in 2013, so I don't know.
Yeah. Regardless.
Flight's of fancy. So the mobsters are freaking out because at this point in Gotham, anytime lights go out, the Batman's near. It's kind of his modus operandi. They know something's going to happen. So lights go out. They're thinking, okay, are the prisoners escaping? Or someone coming for us? What's going on? Roman's voting to leave, and Roman wants to leave. And this is like, okay, no one leaves until we figure it, because there's a knife stabbed through the heart of Amadeus Arkham's portrait. So again, they're starting to freak out, and Roman's like, "We're not playing freaking Clue," which again, this is where Ryan Johnson steps in. Hey guys,
Right.
so Roman votes that they leave. Like, really? No one's voting? Come on, Matches, because he voted for him earlier. Come on, Matches, and then Matches just falls dead. We reveal knife in his back.
It's like, okay, Clue over.
Yeah, this is bad. Then Dr. Cavendish, who was like saying, "Okay, let's just be all calm and rational. It's probably an electrical issue." He's like, "Okay, well, guys, look, that was before one of the board members ended up dead. So if you kindly excuse me, you can all just..." And then he's swept into the darkness, probably killed. He's dragged into the abyss very eerily, and then they are panicking. They're grabbing guns and everything. And there were 4.
Mm-hmm.
So Very nicely shot. I love this. And they're using music from the Arkham game, by the way, during this. I forget which one. I don't know if it's. I forget if it's Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. I think it's City, but I could be wrong. Anyway, they're playing. They're playing some good music here as it's really intense and just the. We think is that they're expecting Tiki. Is your moment with Thorn here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's like it's just let the Batman come. They're thinking it's the Batman. They're going to waste him.
I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why. I just love that line. It's just so it's very cinematic. It's almost like, okay, like this is inevitable. Let it happen. What will be will be.
Exactly. So, oh god, and again because of the murder and everything, they're thinking it's Batman who's been killing mobsters lately. So enters, grabs the knife, and then slashes Roman's face. Which again, Roman Sionis is very disfigured under that mask. Mm-hmm. Slashes his face, and then he pins Daggett's arm to a wall with a knife. Ouch! And then we have the awesome reveal set to that Arkham music. We reveal Andrea goes for her gun. She pulls the gun not on the Batman, but on the last visual of this episode is the mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah, and Dragon, I honest to God had to rewind to make sure, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Was there a second female in the room that I missed?
I mean, technically, yes, but I don't think it's her.
So, yeah, that's a great subversion, Dragon. I'm really interested to see where that goes. And what's really interesting about it, too, is that I get the sense that there was a sense of recognition on her face, too, like as if she knows who what the Phantasm is. So
she has to recognize that's the mask from her father's office.
Right, exactly. There
was recognition there for sure. And then it was like, what? And this guy's killing all the monsters before I can kill them? What?
So yeah, really interesting development there. I don't know, Jason Todd, perhaps.
I mean, it is rather fascinating that we're all expecting Andre Beaumont to be the Phantasm. I know I was, and then this happens. Like, what the heck are they? It's the matchstick moment. What the heck are we gonna do now?
It is kind of the matchstick moment, yeah.
Yep. Only in this case, kind of like Scythe moment, but yeah. Well, we killed matches, so there's your matchstick right there.
Killing matches is kind of the matchstick moment in a way.
There you go.
Oh, God.
He was the best mobster in this room. We killed him.
All right. And I saw that episode 3 takes it from 23 minutes back to 10 minutes. So that should be maybe a welcome reprise. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, final thoughts, Dragon. Like I said, I really do think that the it had a lot to live up to from episode 1, right? Because episode 1 really blew me away. It was really kind of like the most cinematic that the series has ever been. So, I guess my one nitpick is I think the exposition dump could have been done a little bit smoother, but still, it was a very, very good kind of building blocks episode, and I'm sure that a lot of the plot lines will pay off in the future, so still on board with the ride, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much kind of like we're literally kind of putting the pieces are on the board. We're kind of setting up what the game's going to be. You're getting kind of a picture of what things are going to be, and we have like kind of like a little status quo check in on the mob in Gotham. We did that in a really interesting way, and of course, I'm never one to look down the inclusion of the Phantasm, so I rather liked it.
Of course, yeah.
All right.
All righty. Let's see. Any teases of the next episode, Dragon? Any cryptic clues you want to lay out there, really quick? Curiosity.
I think you're really going to like the next one. It's if memory serves, it's going to be the Scarecrow related one.
Okay.
I'll say that much. If memory serves, which I'm pretty sure it does. So also we want to thank Sonia Pantoja for showing up briefly, and the Ghost Ranger, not the Gray Ghost, but the Ghost Ranger.
Yep. All right. Well, our time's up, and it's time to reseal the further evidence until our next session when we attempt to answer the question, is there a method to the madness? With the Joker Blog's case study.
More of a dog person.